So Mike Maloney's Guide to Investing in Gold and Silver has been a massive bestseller for years. And you gotta ask, why? Well, it's because it makes this really provocative claim about a huge economic shift that's just around the corner. We're gonna break down the central argument, pulling out the key ideas and quotes directly from the book. Let's dive in. Right from the get-go, the book puts a huge choice in front of you. It frames what's happening in the economy not as some distant problem, but as a very personal decision, one with potentially historic consequences. The author isn't just talking about markets. He's talking about a single choice that you, personally, have to make.
So, where does this big opportunity come from? Well, the author calls it the perfect economic storm. He argues that some massive economic event isn't just a possibility way off in the future. He thinks it's an imminent reality that we are already starting to face.
And look, we're not just talking about some minor dip in the market here. The author frames this coming storm as the single largest transfer of wealth ever recorded in all of history. He makes the point that during events like this, wealth doesn't just vanish, it moves. The real question is, from who and to whom?
Now you might be thinking, okay, that's a pretty bold prediction. But to back it up, the author points to the book's first edition. He basically says that the economic cracks he warned about years ago, the housing bubble, the runaway currency creation, they were never actually fixed. They were just papered over, which only made the underlying problem that much bigger for the future. So how can he be so sure this is all coming? Well, the book's big argument is that this perfect storm, it's not some brand new thing. It's actually part of a cycle that has played out over and over again throughout history. See, the author thinks of himself as a cycles investor. The whole philosophy is actually pretty simple. If you can understand these giant economic patterns from the past, you basically have a roadmap for what's happening right now and for where we're all headed next. So the book lays out this four-stage cycle that it claims has been on repeat for, get this, over 2,400 years. It always starts with sound money, something real like gold. Then governments start to dilute or debase the currency to pay for things, right? Think of ancient Rome literally scraping silver off their coins. Eventually, regular people start to notice that their money just doesn't buy as much as it used to. And that leads to the final stage, the snapback, where everyone rushes back to the safety of gold and silver, causing their value to go through the roof. All right, to really get what the book is arguing, you have to nail down one absolutely crucial distinction it makes, and that's the difference between money and currency. Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the foreword, puts it perfectly. He says, we've all been taught that money and currency are basically the same thing. But the book, it argues they are two entirely different things. And honestly, understanding this one difference is the key to the author's whole financial philosophy. Okay, let's break it down. The book defines money, like gold and silver, as something with intrinsic value that acts as a store of wealth over long periods of time. Crucially, it can't just be created out of thin air. Currency, on the other hand, like the US dollar, is defined as a government IOU. It's just a medium of exchange that can be printed endlessly, and because of that, it is destined to lose its purchasing power over time. Okay, so if currency is literally designed to lose its value, you have to wonder, where does all that value go? This brings us right back to that huge central theme, the great wealth transfer. And the big question is, who ends up holding the short end of the stick? Yeah, this quote right here paints a pretty grim picture, doesn't it? The book's argument is that when the whole system stumbles, it's not the insiders who get hurt the most. It's the everyday, hard-working people, the savers, whose wealth is held in currency, who end up watching their life's work just evaporate. And just like that, this huge global economic theory becomes something incredibly personal. See, the book isn't just laying out some abstract idea, it's looking you right in the eye and asking, what are you going to do? Which side of this transfer will you be on?
But, it's not all doom and gloom. The book actually makes a pretty powerful argument that inside every great threat, you'll find an equally great opportunity.
This is really the core belief of the whole book. The author thinks the very same forces that are threatening to bring down the monetary system are the exact same forces that will, in his view, send gold and silver to unimaginable heights. The crisis and the opportunity, they're just two sides of the very same coin. So what are you supposed to do about all this? Well, the book boils it all down to a pretty simple two-step path. First step, educate yourself. Understand these historical cycles, which, hey, that's what the book is for. And the second step, take action. Position yourself so you can actually benefit from this transfer instead of being a victim of it. At the end of the day, the book is trying to be a tool, a way to navigate. As the foreword says, it's meant to be a steady compass that can give you some clarity and a plan for what it predicts is going to be a period of massive financial chaos. And it really all comes down to this one last powerful idea. The book argues that these huge economic cycles are as natural and as unstoppable as the ocean's tides. You can't fight them. So the only question it leaves you with is this: are you going to be crushed by the wave, or are you going to learn how to surf it?